As I stated in a previous episode, I learned about Mansa Musa of Mali from some Tuareg nomads while I was traveling in the Sahara Desert. Their enthusiasm and exaggeration for Mansa led me to believe he was a fictional character. Years later, I would learn he did exist, and the Tuareg exaggerations were not that far from the truth. Mali today is an impoverished, chaotic, underdeveloped country in Northwest Africa. But it wasn't always this way. In the past, Mali was part of empires that flourished for more than 1,000 years. Mansa Musa was one of the kings of the Mali Empire, which may have at the time been the wealthiest empire anywhere. The Mali Empire was founded by Mansa Musa's great-uncle, Sundiata Keita, who would defeat the Sosa Empire and would be its first ruler from the years 1235 to 1255. Some of his descendants still use his name as part of royalty in West Africa even today. A number of sources, including a 2019 article in the Washington Post, claim Sundiata was the true source of the Disney film Lion King. Sundiata was said to be Simba, the character in The Lion King. The animated characters in the film, Simba and Scar, were Barbary lions, a species of lions only found in the deserts of North Africa and the only lion native to Mali. Others feel the story was loosely based on Shakespeare's Hamlet. Sundiata was obsessed with what lay beyond, particularly the Atlantic Ocean. He sent 400 ships out with the demand of not returning until their food was out. One ship returned. He then embarked on an expedition with a fleet of 2,000 ships and thousands of men, women, and slaves. They sailed off, never to return. Some historians believe they reached South America and chose to stay. Niani became the capital of Mali in the 12th century. This is some 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers, down the Niger River from Timbuktu, another impressive city in Mali's empire. Niani was Mansa Musa's birthplace. It was on the edge of the forest, the source of gold, palm oil, ivory, and cola nuts. There was iron ore for the iron smelting furnaces and copper. Niani became an international center with traders from all over, with a population of over 100,000 in the 13th century. Mali had 400 plus cities then. Their hall of audience building had silver-plated window frames on the upper floor and gold-plated window frames on the lower floor. Mansa doubled the size of the Mali Empire. Mansa was said to have been humble, religious, just, a great military leader, and was known to make good decisions, particularly when the good of the empire was at risk. The position of the emperor in Mali at the time was careful to not have cronyism or political favoritism to family members. An emperor was to distance himself from earlier friends. His closest advisor was selected from a low status as to not have the influence of powerful families. Mansa was an exceptionally talented leader in handling disputes and complaints. He spoke several languages and implemented a government showing signs of an early democracy. Mali's taxation and international commerce were nearly as complex and highly organized as any modern system. The empire was far ahead of others in urban planning, business, law, and government organization. Mali was so well organized that Mansa Musa and many top advisors were able to leave for 2 years on Hajj, knowing that the empire would run smoothly. Mansa Musa was born around the year 1280, died in 1337 or after, and ruled from 1312 until 1337. A number of well-known sources, including Forbes magazine, claim Mansa was the wealthiest man in history. Common adjustments in today's dollars put his wealth over $500 billion. Some estimates are well over $1 trillion. He stopped bandits along his country's highways, which helped trade and travel to flourish. I don't believe this was done anywhere else at the time, as I've read of numerous problems throughout the world with this. It is said life was good under Mansa. There was peace, plenty of food, and a very high standard of living. Markets had many goods from China, more than 12,000 miles away, but also from India, Persia, and throughout the known world. Mansa was known to enjoy trips out into the desert or places where he could view the African wildlife. I can imagine he experienced the bliss, serenity, and oneness with the desert in these trips that my Tuareg friend spoke of, and that I experienced, described in other episodes. One of the most known stories of Mansa is his Hajj trip. Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is the pilgrimage to Mecca. Some estimates have him taking some 60,000 Mali citizens, slaves, and soldiers. Mansa provided for all on the journey. He brought with him about 100 camels with 300 pounds of gold on each camel. He gave gold to the poor he encountered. When passing through Cairo, the caravan spent so much money that it took more than 10 years for currency markets to stabilize around the Mediterranean. The wealth of the journey reached legendary status, as stories of this would make their way throughout Europe, the Middle East, and well into Asia. Never had something like this been seen. Those on the trip were dressed in Persian or Yemeni silk outfits. Observers said it would take an entire day for the caravan to pass. Stories of Timbuktu would fascinate Europeans who were unaware of where the city was. Even to this day, the name conjures up a mystical and mysterious vision. Education was of great concern to Mansa. He made Timbuktu into one of the great learning centers of the world, a vision he shared with Alexander the Great's creation of Alexandria as the Great Learning Center. Mansa established the University of Sankore in Timbuktu. It was a major university which attracted scholars and students from around the Islamic world, Europe, and Asia. The university could accommodate 25,000 students and had about 1 million manuscripts or books. Tens of thousands of these books are still in existence. This was one of the largest libraries the world had seen, and even today would be a good-sized library for a university library. Texts were written in a number of languages. 10-year degrees were given, roughly the equivalent of today's PhD. Mansa would support the arts, literature, and brought from outside Mali a number of accomplished mathematicians, astronomers, architects, legal scholars, along with others to the staff. Timbuktu remained a great learning center for a few hundred years. It had dozens of sizable libraries, various universities, and was known for medicine. Mansa had the Jingraber Mosque built in 1327. It still stands today and can accommodate 2,000. Where would we be if Mansa had done a better job of planning his continuance and preserving the kingdom's passion for academics and knowledge? Instead, the vision of Mansa would not endure. Mali then would only serve as a source for slaves. Please support the channel by subscribing, liking, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.